This is the Video Production Classroom Introduction. Now, even if you're in one of the higher levels, that's okay. It's always good to review, especially since things are changing a little bit for online learning. But basically, this is guides, rules, just lessons to live by so that you can do well in this class. So for some of you, this is review, and for some of you, obviously, this is very new. And my classroom is a little bit different than your typical ones. So because I do things a little bit different, it's good to have this presentation, and try not to fall asleep for sure. And if there is a Google form that goes along with this, so if you already don't have it out, make sure to have it out so you're ready for when we get to that point. So just some things to know, a lot of things to know actually. So first of all, we're looking at typical units, like most teachers. You usually find you start in the Google Classroom, of course, until we switch to this new thing called Canvas. And you follow the unit Google presentation slides, and that'll contain all the information you'll need to know. Any sort of rubric activity, practice activities, you name it, a bunch of different stuff. And some may be shorter than others. Some may take you a really long time to do. So keep that in mind. There's usually a planning document of some kind, a footage check where I see that you're actually doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's going to be a little bit different with online, so we'll have to see what that's like when we get to that point. Completing and turning in the video and the viewing of the best videos is usually what we do in the units. Now, typical days. So you need to review the material before class and night before at the latest, but a lot of times I suggest not doing that because for instance, like the news report, there's a lot of different lessons, and especially the music video, there's a lot of different things that you have to do, at least know before we actually start that first class. So it's a good idea to at least go through it all at least once just to get an idea of what's it about, and if you have any confusion, you can save your questions for that particular day. Pace yourself based on my recommendations and due dates. Be ready for class, for our Google Meets. Check in for attendance when instructed, however we're going to do that. Follow review of content. So as I'm going over some of the things, some of the highlights of what I wanted you guys to know, at least you'll have a good idea of where my focus is. Work as needed. A lot of times it's just going to be us working. That's what we'll do for the entire period. I'll be here, asking, getting questions answered, you name it. Ask questions in the chat, obviously. Meets will be recorded and posted, so if you happen to miss something, your power goes out or whatever, you can always go back and review it, and that's perfectly okay. Unmute only when instructed. If you have maybe a question that's a little bit more complicated, it's hard to write it, okay, we'll just, I'll unmute you, and then you can ask your question. Do not record or take pictures for any reason. There's actually some legal issues with that, so keep that in mind. Now, my role is to help facilitate and support your learning by providing the necessary tools and know-how to begin and end a project. I don't like to do a lot of hand-holding. I don't. A lot of what you guys are going to see, it's a lot of it on your own, and we'll get to that in a second why that's important. Providing feedback to improve learning, providing help if you need it. This includes any nuance that you may be missing. Now, your basic role, if you haven't already started to, begin following the Google form because there's some checks that you have to do for it. Review the content before class meeting. Once again, that's important. Ask questions and work during class meetings. Contact me if you need help as soon as possible. Don't wait till last minute. I found out that's not good, especially for remote learning. Take ownership of your learning. Adopt an independent learner mindset. Listen, I really try to push that always because eventually you're going to have to learn that lesson. Hey, I have to do it on my own. If I have to look up something, the teacher's not going to be available, or in a job, no one's going to be able to help you. And so it's a good thing to learn early, and it's kind of stinks that we have to learn that lesson so soon because of COVID. But here's the thing: when my Video 1 students were struggling with being independent and doing it else, when it came down to the shutdown and we couldn't go to school anymore, they actually really excelled, and it was amazing the stuff that they did when it came to the short films and the little contests that we had. So. It was incredible, but you got to learn that lesson. You got to take ownership. You got to do it on your own. Okay. I'm just there to kind of guide you. That's it. Not do it for you. Guide you. Be motivated and do your best. Be brave to take creative risks. Taking creative risks actually will help to get a higher grade. It does really show when people are actually trying to do something amazing instead of just kind of doing whatever. Keep pace. Very important to keep pace. Due dates are extremely important. We'll get to that in a second. General grading. Projects are 80% and checkup assignments are 20%. Grades are updated weekly and sometimes daily depending on the assignment. Every project will receive feedback on what improvements may have been needed. Projects may be emailed directly to me for advice on improvements, but once officially turned into Google Classroom, changes cannot be made and resubmitted. This is really important. When I found that, with this remote learning, people trying to resubmit it, I'd get confused of which one was the actual one, you name it. It's just not good. So once it's turned in, that's it, okay? If there's any technical problems, okay, well, that's easy to fix. But for the most part, there shouldn't be any of those issues. At least I don't think so. Late classwork is 0% and cannot be made up for the same reasons. I can't be looking back and seeing if you missed something or whatever. No, don't do that, okay? But late projects, past the final cutoff, will only be 50 points out of 100. But usually it takes a little bit for that final cutoff to happen, maybe like a few days or a week. So I do give a little bit of extra time, but don't, you're going to have to really push it on your end. Late projects past the next project due date will be a permanent 0%. Late final semester projects are automatically 0% if not turned on time. Okay, I had a kid trying to get a hold of me over the summer saying, "Oh, I have my video done." I'm like, "Dude, it's like a few days past the final turn and can't do it. The grades are already in." So now the thing about the 80% and 20%. I had people do amazing projects, but they still didn't get a good grade. They still got a B or C because, well, you still have to do the other work, the work that actually leads up to it. And the work that leads up to it shows me that you know what you're doing. Now, if you haven't seen this already, this is the Student Code of Conduct. Just some of your responsibilities, and some of the stuff I'll be going over is very similar to this. But make sure that you communicate with your teachers via email about questions, concerns on information being presented or assignments being assigned. We'll attend a participation class during the assigned time. We'll follow code of conduct and class expectations, which I'm going over now. We'll find a place during the online class assigned that is distraction-free to the best of your ability. We'll complete assignments with academic integrity. We'll talk a little bit about that too. We'll respect teachers and classmates and will not engage in cyberbullying or bullying of any kind. We'll dress appropriately for class time as if you're attending in-person class sessions. Absences. Review the content. So if you're gone, just go back to the Google Units slide. That will basically give all the information that you need. Watch the recorded meeting because maybe you had a question and someone answered it. If any same-day work, which are mostly a lot of the checkup assignments, cannot be done the same day, you do not have to do them in most cases, but please ask an email to me. It will now count for or against you in this case. However, constant absenteeism will result in falling behind or other disciplinary procedures. If you're absent during work days for projects or any others, you'll just need to make up the time on your own, but just know that I have to mark you absent. Extra time is already embedded into work time. But if you if you have more than 3 excused absences, we will need to have a parent-teacher conference to see what's going on. Special guidelines, proper care. All right, try not to fall asleep. There's a lot of these, okay? Be prepared for the shoot, whether it be weather, microphones used, extra equipment, you name it. No trick or danger shots or content for you, the camera, or the talent. Please do not do dangerous things because if you get hurt and they say, well, I was doing it for a video video production, get me in hot water. We don't want that. Be aware of surroundings, holes, uneven surfaces, and carry equipment properly. Make sure to adhere to local and state guidelines for viral infections. Please do so. The only reason why we're having to do this is because people were not following rules and wearing their masks. So please do that. All right, special guidelines for etiquette 1. These will probably change if we ever go back in person, but these are the ones just for online. At all times, you must be respectful to staff, students, parents, participants, and classmates. Project songs and content must be appropriate in all regards, obscenity, association, etc. Students are not to disrupt other students during meetings. Students will work alone or with members of their household while adhering to safe protocols. If your video calls for a video conference, you may work as a group. As a group member, each must do their own part to help out the group. If someone is not contributing to the group in a sufficient manner, you need to bring it to my attention as soon as possible so there's adequate time for the adjustment for the persons being dropped. In that case, they may be put on what's called the alternate track. Now, especially for something like that, if this is in person, you guys get to choose your own groups, but you can't really do groups right now. And I say don't do groups right now. Now, a lot of students did do kind of like a video conference for their short film. It's kind of interesting. But just know that certain rules are still in place. You still have to turn in your own edited version that you actually did yourself. Okay, so keep that in mind. But if you feel uncomfortable with something you have to act out or with someone you have to work with, let me know as soon as possible. So say you want to do those video conferences, something happens, let me know. Okay, and if something did happen, definitely let me know. Video production, Google Meetings are meant for learning, review of material, work time, and questions and answers. YouTube video watching other than applicable research, online gaming, forums, filling out applications is not allowed. Okay, no eating is allowed during Google Meets. I have not eaten out more than once this entire time. So if I see you eating out, I'm going to lose it. Okay, I want in and out. Use class time efficiently. When you are done with one step, move quickly to the next. There's always something to be done. Otherwise, I'll expect that your work is turned in. I'll go check it. I'll be like, okay, oh, it looks like you're done. All right, let me go see. Oh, wait, yours isn't done. Okay, then I have to have a talk with your parents. Do not film anyone without their permission and only use footage for the purposes of the class. Delete footage from your phone once it is not necessary. Once again, it's sort of the privacy issues and respect issues too. Do not delete or manipulate any files on the computer or any of the Google products and services that aren't your own unless otherwise instructed. Every student must edit their own version of video even if they are part of a group. Now, this only applies to video 1, so keep that in mind. We'll talk more about how for video 2 and 3 it's different. It is the responsibility of the individual student that assignments and projects are fully completed and submitted in a timely fashion to anticipate any problems or setbacks. Students may not provide their edits or creations to other members in the group for their edits, only raw footage. Keep that in mind. Keep distractions, including phones, away unless otherwise directed. If a student or group fails to have planning documents or footage for their projects by the due date, they will not be allowed to join other groups and will be placed on an alternate track. Okay? Now, like I said, if we aren't really doing groups, so you'll just go onto an alternate track. What happens there is that you'll lose points and no longer be allowed to work on your original idea. You'll work on my idea and a new project. The most you'll be able to receive is a 90%. That's sort of the penalty for that. Except for the music video, which will be 80%. In some cases, a student can choose to not plan their video and go on the alternative track early. They may do so, but you will receive 0 points on the planning document, and your footage points will be based on the work and behavior exhibit during our class meetings. It is extremely important that projects are turned in on time as the class will be moving on to the next assignment, and no more class time will be given. Late projects run the risk of becoming a permanent 50% at the final cutoff. Usually what we do is I give you 50 points when you turn in your video, regardless how good or bad it is, and the rest of 50 points is based on the rubric. But if you turn it in past the final cutoff, it's just 50 points, okay? Regardless of how well or poorly you did. Any late projects will be a permanent 0% if not turned in by the next project's due date or it's the semester final, like we've already discussed. Extra time is already included for every assignment to help students who may need more time. And the beauty of remote learning, actually, and the program that you guys will be working with is you can do it at home. So you're not limited to the 50 minutes that we used to have. Now it's like, okay, you could spend 2 or 3 hours and you're good to go. Now, extra time may be allowed for multiple absences. So like if you really were sick and you really couldn't do anything for 3 or more days, well, I'll just talk with your parents and see that that is the case. Some major projects will have some type of extra credit. Extra credit may also be given for outstanding citizenship grade and improvement, mostly for the first semester. Students who turn in projects early, usually we can resubmit corrected videos. Now, like I said, that has to be through email, though, so keep that in mind. All classwork other than unit projects are due on the specific due date, and if not turned in, are a permanent 0%. There's no need to ask to use the restroom. Just go and review the meet recording for the missed time. Don't make it a habit, though, as I'm required to report if you are not participating in the Google Meet. Students will still adhere to the rules set in this document, regardless whether signed or not. Failure to indicate that you have read and understood the rules in the Google Classroom will result in loss of points until completed. And when I say that, that's actually the Google form. So, awesome! You made it to the end. Please finish filling out the Google form, turn in, and you're done. That basically shows to me that you are ready and willing to learn, and that you're doing your best to be able to, and you know the best things to do to be able to be successful in this class. Okay? All right, so do that, and let's start this great year, right?